Oh, thank you. So I have a few slides I'd like to go through with you. There's going to be two topics, and I'll move rapidly. The first topic is the election integrity project. I'm going to run a few slides here, and there is hope. There's a lot of hope, and we should not be discouraged. Okay. This election that we just witnessed, in a way, it was a very hollow victory for the other side. I mean, if you look at the composition of the state assemblies around the nation, the conservatives picked up many seats in many states. So it wasn't a blue wave, as they call it, particularly here in Texas. Remember all the rumors, Texas is going purple, or no, it did not happen. And what's happening now in America can be called the Great Awakening. Prior to the election, 35% of the Republican voters didn't believe that the elections are fair. Post-presidential election, 70% of Republicans don't believe the 2020 election was free and fair. That's called an awakening, and that is very significant. You're talking about tens of millions of people. Saul Alinsky, the NEA love, they actually took his book, Rules for Radical, and they had it right at the NEA website, as I understand it. He wrote a book for the communist. He's a communist doctrinaire, and the book, Rules for Radicals, he dedicated it to Lucifer. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Anyway, he said this: power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. And the point of that is they want us to be discouraged. They want us to feel defeated. They want us to feel overwhelmed. And that's a mistake. We shouldn't take that kind of an attitude. We should get involved like never before, because there is great hope. The process our founders gave us still stands. What has been done can be undone, but if the masses of conservative voters believe they no longer have the power to make a difference, then they take themselves out of the fight. So we don't want to do that. So tell your friends and neighbors who are discouraged not to be, and provide them with the election integrity literature that we've been putting out, which is easy to understand and easy to implement. The Constitution, as you all well know in this room, is the solution. Each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct. Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. The states have the responsibility for elections. Any problems can be worked out within the states, which is much easier to fix than through the Congress. Already, as Ken mentioned, there's legislation being introduced across the country in different state houses to start cleaning up the election process. It's much more difficult for any conspiracy to control local elections. So we have a reason for encouragement that way. If you don't have our brochures yet, the 9 points on restoring election integrity is a gem. And that just keeps flying out of our warehouse. You can get it on a PDF and email it to friends, but just keep circulating that. Even if you're not doing anything else, at least keep circulating that. We have put out some masterpiece articles documenting the fraud that took place, and the evidence still unfolds week by week. We hear more and more and more, and so we can certainly make the case. We must rein in big government, and the only way to do that is through the House of Representatives, because they control the money. They're up for election every 2 years. They have to face the voters, so they tend to be more responsive to we the people. Also, because they control the money, they're the ones who fund the massive administrative state that keeps eroding our liberties and poses increasing threats for freedom. 2020 was a year that was the year of the radical. The 2019 or the COVID-19 tyrannical lockdowns. Lockdown is a word that's used in a prison. It's not used by free people, but the very word lockdown should alarm every citizen. The manufactured riots, isn't it amazing how they can create riots in 30 cities simultaneously, almost with a phone call? The conspiracy operates two ways. Pressure from below, that's the mob, the rioter, and then pressure from above, more federal controls. And they work together behind the scenes in a synchronization. And when you study that, you say, oh my gosh. In New York City, for example, some of those police cars that were burned by Antifa, I saw on the news, some of these thugs with the black mask were attorneys. I mean, some of these are smart people, and there's professional organizers that go in, and that's a topic for another day. And then, of course, the election fraud. If you haven't seen this article, it's a masterpiece, and we had to go into several printings now, and it's just circulating all over the country. It's called Directing the Disorder. It was written by Bill Jasper, who's an absolute brain. He's one of our senior editors of the New American Magazine, speaks for us around the country and travels around the world. He goes to globalist conferences and really finds out what's going on. But he said this, quote, "The whole world has gone insane and the lunatics are in charge of the asylum. At least it looks that way to any rational person surveying the escalating revolutions that have engulfed the planet in the year 2020. The revolutions to which we refer to are the COVID-19 revolution and the Black Lives Matter revolution, which combined are wreaking unprecedented havoc and destruction, political, social, economic, moral, and spiritual worldwide." It's a great piece. He takes an analysis of the Council on Foreign Relations and these elite globalist organizations that are running our government from behind the scenes. And he breaks it all down in a schematic showing you the different department heads and CFR members. It's really worth getting. You can get bundles of 25. And anyone who reads that will be alarmed because it's so well documented. So we see all sorts of radicalism coming out of the Biden administration. We were all told he's a mainstream, a centrist. Not at all. He's very much dedicated to the left. And some really wonder if he actually is in charge. I think what we're really seeing is an Obama-Harris administration emerging, and that the transformation is already underway. So the executive orders keep pouring out. We can be thankful that there were many good court appointments over the last few years. And so there's some hope on the judicial side of government. But it's a testimony to the brilliance of the founders, the separation of powers. Just when they think that they can put handcuffs on every citizen, all of a sudden they have to back off. But anyway, this is very important. Article 6, Clause 2 of the Constitution makes it clear that the Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, shall be the supreme law of the land. Known as the Supremacy Clause, it dictates that laws must be made within the constitutional limitations of government via the words "in pursuance thereof." It does not say "in violation thereof." The third clause binds all government officials to the Constitution through their oath to uphold it. Thus, your local, county, state, and federal officials are duty-bound to follow these limitations, as well as act when limitations are broken. So we must hold their feet to the fire. They all take the oath. And there's great hope for this country through the state legislatures. Many of these people are non-ideological. They just enjoy being elected, and they'll listen to the citizens if we engage them in a respectful way with good information. We're in a fight in Wisconsin right now. they're trying to push a constitutional convention through. Because we have good members in the state, we have several who are in the Capitol today and yesterday testifying about the dangers of a con-con. It's a whole nother topic, but we certainly don't want to rewrite our Constitution or have a convention. God help us. So we must block Biden with the Constitution. In Federalist 33, Alexander Hamilton wrote the federal acts, which are not, he wrote the, let me just back up. In the Federalist paper number 33, Alexander Hamilton said, quote, "Acts which are not pursuant to its constitutional powers will be merely acts of usurpation and will be deserve to be treated as such." And he goes on, "If the state legislators be necessary to give to a measure of the union, they have not only to act or to act evasively, and the measure is defeated." In other words, the states are not mandated to carry out unconstitutional acts, nor officials at the county level, for that matter, and local city level. So the JBS stresses Article 6, that's the supremacy clause, to rein in big government by getting our elected officials to uphold the U.S. Constitution. So I wanted to share that with you. There is hope. Like I said, the victory in November was very hollow, and now they have created a disequilibrium because millions of people are starting to think like John Birchers. So, what can I say? Let's jump now to another subject, and that is what they're doing to our children in the schools. I mean, it's unbelievable. And with that said, there are many fine teachers in the public school in the public school system who are trying to do the best under the circumstances. But the oligarchy that controls what we call public education is not on the side of traditional America, the Constitution, the virtues that were espoused by our founders. Their vision is quite different. And they're using the public government school system to indoctrinate and subvert all of the great pillars that made our country so good. They teach little Johnny and Sally that a cow has 5 legs. Well, no, we know a cow has 4 legs and a tail. I think you get my drift. And so they're creating all this unhappiness with the young students, and suicides are up, and it's just a pathetic mess what they've done. But what's happening now, millions are looking for alternative education. Remember the 70% that don't trust the elections. Now they don't trust the schools either. We started about 10 years ago a project called Freedom Project Academy. It's online live learning, K through 12. We have over 50 instructors. The student has to log in at a certain time. We're so excited about Freedom Academy. We intend to set the standard for the entire homeschool movement. We already are in some regards. We're starting to produce non-Common Core arithmetic books, like we all learn traditional math. It's essential. We emphasize logic, how to think, not what to think. And it's taken off. Like I said, we're in our 10th year now. And in that building, we have what's called Freedom Project Media. Freedom Project Media. And I'm just going to share you a little bit of what we're doing. I think you'll like it.
Right now, there are 50 million kids attending America's public schools. They're poised to be the next generation of college radicals. That means that we need to start fighting this battle sooner, like now.
You sent something to me this weekend, and you said, what is the name of this place?
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project.
Freedom Project Academy. Yes, we love that.
And one of the toughest decisions we can make as parents is how to educate our kids and with whom.
Get them out of the public school system. This group may help, because I just tell people, homeschool your children and go to Christian schools.
Real world skills like reading, skills like writing, arithmetic, American history, they have been replaced with social justice, gender confusion, and Common Core. Gotta love Common Core.
Our last two kids we put into a school online, and I wish I had known at the time about Freedom Project Academy.
You are spitting some serious education. It's amazing to me that people don't see through the smoke and mirrors that the left has built up for so long.
What you're doing is so incredibly important. The greatest teaching is going to happen outside of the traditional college, high school structure. It's going to be going back to the great roots of Aristotle and Ayn Rand and Adam Smith. So I fully endorse and love what you're talking about.
I mean, basically, they're doing what you're saying, except now they're saying you can go online. They've got exams, they teach, they do all these different ways, but they're doing it, and
that's
they're teaching.
one way around the Department of Education.
Because we guys cannot afford to surrender another generation to left-wing indoctrination.
This past year, my wife and I took the plunge, and we were like, you know what? Let's enroll one of our own children in there. And so our son Noah has been in Freedom Project Academy this year, and it's been amazing.
My band spends probably 200 days a year on the road, and I didn't want to leave my little girl at home, so we searched and searched for a way that she could do school and still be with me. And then we found FPA, and for us, it's absolutely perfect.
This is the answer. It's affordable, it's flexible, the parents are loving it, and mostly I think it's the kids. They're coming home and they're saying, I don't hate school anymore. I love school.
They're utilizing the tools of the future while giving an education that is rooted in tradition and timeless moral values. So it's the best of both worlds. It's the best of every world, really. And best of all, no government involved.
The classical education is the way to go. It's the way Thomas Jefferson learned. It's the way Ben Franklin learned.
And you can do it with the best teachers, the best methods, and the best classes in the world. And I don't think there's any place better than that right now than Freedom Project Academy.
I love Freedom Project. I love what you're doing. It's so important. And the more we tell our friends about these things, the more people will get on board. And I believe that we can be the catalyst to some real change.
You're doing a great job, seriously. Great job.
Thank you for your courage. Thank you for continuing to stand, not giving in.
Super important project. Please go check them out. Great alternative to sending your kid to a public school that may be in the process of indoctrinating them rather than teaching them.
We must save the West. Our way of life and our culture is under attack, and because of patriots like you and your project, I have optimism for the future.
We're exploding now. We had to turn down hundreds of students because we are at max capacity. We're over 1,000 now for the live instruction. And so this fall we're going to be launching what's called Anytime Academy. Anytime Academy is on-demand education available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anywhere in the world. And so moms and dads can enroll their child. Again, it goes from kindergarten to the end of high school. It's accredited. We have kids getting into college. And again, we teach logic, how to think, not what to think. And it's a wonderful alternative to the public school system for those who are concerned and want to have something different than that for their kids. And so what I'm going to do now is just show you a few more things about this project, because we have to save the next generation or we're going to be in big trouble. We're currently on a very deadly trajectory. You cannot teach that the Founding Fathers are criminals and that America is terrible generation after generation without consequence. And we're seeing the consequence now as we move closer and closer to this dystopian world and so many are asleep. The curriculum is an issue, so these public school districts are offering free computers and K through 12 programming, but it's all the propaganda and indoctrination from the left for the textbooks. And so that's another project we have underway, is to create textbooks that are authentic. We are planning American history books that uplift the ideals of the Founding Fathers and the ideals of liberty. And we are in discussions with a scholar in Oklahoma who was commissioned by the governor to write a 2-volume set on the history of Oklahoma. Brilliant man, and he will be involved in that American history project initially for the upper grades. And we hired a media man from Green Bay who has produced award-winning TV commercials. He's on board with us and creates media now for us. And what will likely happen with these American textbooks once we get there is it'll be designed for the modern student. So they may be on chapter 4 talking about the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Well, at some point the instructor would have them put the book down and turn on maybe 4 minutes on a screen so that they have the imagery as well. So why not do that? I mean, that's all these kids are looking at screens. Why not put good information on the screen with the books? So that's where we're heading. And I did meet with a gentleman in New York who distributes teaching aids and so forth to the entire public school system. His catalog is massive. We're talking millions. And I'm hoping, Lord willing, because he leans our way, that we can work something out and start marketing true, authentic American history books to the schools. Because what's happening too in some of the school districts, the parents want to get control back away from the elites, and there's more and more pressure that way. So we got to get back to local instead of having all of our institutions run from afar.
American exceptionalism.
Absolutely, American exceptionalism. So I'll just go through a few slides here. It's Judeo-Christian values, a classical curriculum, live online instruction, no federal money. Remember, that which government subsidizes, it controls. So we're in our 10th year now. We went from 22 students to over 1,000, from 10 instructors to over 50, and from 7 staff to 16. And we have a 15,000 square foot building. We have a donor out east who sent his daughter to one of the liberal colleges, and she came back just completely different. Tree hugger, contempt for the philosophies of freedom and everything, and all the socialist mumble jumble. And he was hurt, as any father would be hurt. And he knew we were trying to launch this, and he said, "Are you still planning to?" And yeah, if we can find the money, here's the money, get it going. So we were able to buy a building and launch it, and we've never looked back. So we're very excited. Thousands have been through it already. And the kids love it. It's fun. The comprehension is rapid, and they're happy because they know they're legitimately learning. Kids that are struggling can have access to the instructor later. If they're struggling in math, they have a special pen and they're working out the formulas and so forth. In real time, the instructor can see it. It's a special pen. So the instructor sees it on his or her side and can help them and walk them through problems. But we teach all the traditions that got us to the moon. I mean, we're teaching the things that really work. And that's what the marketplace wants. They want it big time. We are producing award-winning media for the homeschooling movement and private school movement, although it is being used now in some public schools. They close the door and they sneak in our stuff. And we're quite excited. So we get wonderful letters from parents, and I'm sure you can share some great stories. But there's such gratitude because of what they're learning. So one thing we want to do, and we call it partnership, all these churches, you know, they're filled up on Sunday, and then Monday all these kids are back in the public school system. So we're going out to pastors and church leaders and saying, hey, look, you got all this empty space, you got a library, cafeteria, why not have the kids there and set up like an education co-op? Costs you nothing. The parents pay the tuition, and it's a modest tuition, and they'll get a great education, and they're not going to be destroyed in a public school. So we call it the partnership program. We already have several churches now who are implementing this. It's a turnkey solution to create a school within a church. without having to hire teachers and pay salaries. So we're very excited about the potential of this. And I would like to hire a couple people to just go out and start calling on churches. Hey, start a school. You know, it's not going to cost you anything. So this fall, because we had to turn down hundreds, we're going to be launching Anytime, which will be on-demand education. And we're going to have 10,000 hours of solid live curriculum recorded that can be accessed 24/7. And that is going to be big.
For centuries, mankind has pursued knowledge through experiences, books, and formal education. But somewhere along the way, a well-rounded education became co-opted by social justice, gender confusion, and disdain for our country's founding fathers. The landscape of K-12 education, once restricted to brick-and-mortar schools, is changing before our very eyes. Homeschooling, once sneered at by most Americans, has become mainstream thanks to advanced technology. Sites like YouTube have made it easier than ever to learn how to do anything you can imagine. So why not approach schooling in a similar way? Why not create a school with on-demand classes built around classical methods and Judeo-Christian truth? Freedom Project has done just that. Introducing Anytime Academy, a complete K-12 online school designed to educate the next generation using foundational math, classic literature, proven science, and unapologetic history. It doesn't matter where you're located in the world. As long as you have a computer and access to the internet, students can attend Anytime Academy classes at their own pace, and new classes start every month. Students and parents have access to more than 100 pre-recorded lessons built into every fully accredited class. Anytime Academy provides all homework, quizzes, tests, grading, report cards, and transcripts. Plus, live teachers are available online for additional help and discussion. Any organization can start their own school using the flexibility and simplicity of Anytime Academy. Students of various ages and academic levels can meet in the same room. Simply provide them access to a computer and let the schooling begin. Think of all the churches that sit vacant all week long. Starting a private school has never been easier, and receiving an old school education with cutting-edge technology has never been built better for student success. Oh, and by the way, Freedom Project Academy also offers more than 100 live courses that can be taken in tandem with Anytime. Does your student need more teacher interaction for classes like math and English? No problem. Simply enroll in the live classes that work for your schedule. Anytime Academy is the perfect blend of classical schooling and on-demand teaching designed to faithfully educate the next generation of American patriots.
Okay, so I think I pretty much explained what Freedom Project is. I hope you will spread the word to others. So that's all off and running, and I urge you to look at it and share it with others. Grandparents are involved, and you just need an adult supervisor to make sure that the student is logged in and doing what they're supposed to do. So. But we have to create an informed electorate, and I want to make sure I'm answering your question. Because of what we do at the grassroots level, and the integrity of the Birch Society and knowledge base of the Birch Society through the years, I can't think of any more effective organization than the Society. Now what'll happen, there'll be break-offs and individuals will go lead other groups and special campaigns. That's fine, we don't discourage it. We are the Tea Party before the Tea Party. Since November, we've had over 100 radio interviews, for example, in tertiary markets, but WGN in Chicago, we've had 2 or 3. So we're getting a lot of media now. And then what we're doing online, I just showed you Freedom Project, but the JBS has the New American broadcasting, and then we have the John Birch Society broadcasting on top of what I showed you with Freedom Project. We are reaching tens of millions of people right now. We're from the bottom up, grassroots education, which is really where it's ultimately at. There's an old saying that people lose their senses in herds, yet are brought back to sanity one by one. That's what we do, one by one. A brother, a sister, a mom, and dad, we get them to understand. I would say this, and I'll wrap this up, but one of the beauties of the John Birch Society, and I'm not a joiner, I really am not a joiner, but the Birch Society, I recognized its value for sure, because where else could I get this? But the beauty of the Birch Society is we take complicated issues and subjects and we distill it down so that the bus driver, the cab driver, the barber can understand it. And that's where we've got to be, in addition to working with opinion molders like people who have a radio show and legislators. Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next one, James.